I'm also an executive director of a non-for-profit called Indianapolis Center for Educational Enrichment, and we focus on those things I just mentioned. I also broker to multiple lenders in the form of lending when it comes to small businesses. 10 years ago, I was a senior loan officer for a company called Premier Mortgage and also Pinnacle Financial. So during those 10 years, I learned a lot about lending. And during that course of time, I saw that a lot of people were making mistakes when it came to lending because they were not prepared when it came to home ownership. And that was the reason why a lot of people got in trouble with foreclosures. So after the market changed in 2009, I kind of went into the non-for-profit sector in the form of education, because it wasn't my job as a loan officer to educate anyone about money or what they were getting into. It was just my job to originate the loan. But there was a passion that was turned in me. God had anointed me to actually be passionate about people and actually sit down and educate them about what they were getting into. So that's the reason why the educational part came in with the non-for-profit sector. Now my spark has come back on the lending side, because as I was sitting down with folks about foreclosure, most people had entrepreneur dreams. They were self-employed, but they didn't know how to get back on track. So what I did was I started consulting. I was like, wow, okay, let me get back into the lending side, because there were a lot of people who wanted to start businesses but didn't have any startup money. That's like major killer when it comes to businesses. So what I wanted to do to make sure that I put myself in position to make sure that I met the needs of anybody, no matter if they was a startup company or if they were an existing company, whatever the needs were, I wanted to be in a position where I could meet anybody's need, okay? So right now, what I'm able to do as far as small business lending is I'm able to lend to small businesses. If you've been in business for at least a year or more, I can lend anywhere from $10,000 all the way up to $55 million on small businesses, okay?
Can you tell them that number again?
10,000, anywhere from $10,000 minimum to all the way to $55 million on small business lending, okay? Just last week alone, I just got a construction company $80,000. That's huge for a construction company. The reason why, because it's a seasonal business, number one. Number two, we had a bad winter, okay? So a lot of those companies wasn't able to operate, so they lost a lot of revenue. This guy was able to get $80,000 strictly off of the strength of his business, okay? His credit wasn't that great. He had a 617 middle score. You know, if you go into a traditional bank, you can forget it. They're not looking at you. But his business was so healthy enough where he was able to get that $80,000. We was able to get him approved within 24 hours. He got that money 3 days later into his account. It was that quick, okay? So, with that said, I'm also able to do commercial real estate as well. I can lend to land acquisitions, I can lend to daycares, I can lend to churches, I can lend to oil and gas stations. I can lend to pretty much any industry that is healthy enough. Most banks will not lend. They have a restriction on industries. So if you don't know the industry that you're in that the bank may restrict, if you're going into it and ask the bank for a loan, they can easily tell you no just based off of the industry that you're in. So that's one of the things that the bank won't tell you as well. So you have to know exactly what industries that the banks will accept and what they will not accept, okay, just for the risk alone. That's where we come in at. We bridge that gap. We're able to lend to medical offices, event planners, cleaners, parking garages, gas stations, anybody who has a healthy, consistent cash flow of business coming in each month. I can probably get you some money.
Define healthy.
Healthy would be anywhere from $10,000 per month and up. So if you're bringing in $10,000 a month or more, I can probably get you some money based off the healthiness of your business. Now, if your credit, okay, let me back up. Some of the things that I'm seeing in businesses, that they're not balanced. And when I say they're not balanced, this is the thing that I'm seeing. They either have the credit, but they don't have the funding or the money or the cash flow coming in, or they have the cash flow coming in, but they don't have the credit. Credit is the steering wheel. It's what's going to steer your business. You've got to have credit. For some reason, people are just ignoring their credit rating. I know that we all want to be debt-free, which we should be, but your credit rating is very important. That's one of the things that I focus on too, is credit education and credit counseling, because I think it's very important. And one of the things that I touch on with credit education is that I want people to understand how credit works and the importance of it. And then we consult you on how to get your credit scores up in a timely manner based off of the knowledge and the information I gave you with the credit scores. So that's what we do on that. But it's very important for business owners to make sure that they know that their credit is in, that credit needs to be A1. Right now, I have a lender right now, if you have a 700, 720 plus credit score, they will give you up to $150,000 line of credit. Stated.
Keyword.
Stated. Stated means that they will state your income based on what you tell them. They will not ask for any document or proof of what you're making. It's all based off of the strength of your credit score.
Okay, very quickly. If you did not hear that, if anything you did not hear, I wanted you to hear that. Because if you walk into KeyBank, M&I, all my friends, Chase, they are not going to tell you that.
Not going to tell you that. It's not going to tell you.
That is unheard information.
The reason why they're not going to tell you that is because you have not established relationship with that banker. The key is relationships to any bank. If I go into a bank, okay, say I go to you right now, I don't even know you, I just met you today, and then we exchange information, then I know you got some money, and I go to you and say, hey, you know, this is my business plan, this is how much I need. You're going to be like, man, I'm not messing with you. He doesn't know me. I have to establish relationship with him in order for him to trust me enough to eliminate the risk and give me the money that I need, regardless of what my financial situation is, regardless of what my credit status is. Okay. I have to establish relationship, and that's what the banks are looking for, relationships, in order to sit down with a banker and tell them your life story, tell them what you've been through, tell them how you was able to get your businesses the way that you have them now, in order for them to sit down and then explain to you what their products and services are. Because there are a lot of products and services that banks have that might meet your criteria or your scenario, but if you don't know, or if you don't have established relationships with those banks, you won't know that. And that's where I come in as well. As a broker, my job is to learn all the lenders' guidelines and their underwriting services and tools. So as I'm sitting down with you, as I look at your profile, I know exactly where you should go based on the information I have that the bank gave me. So that's the reason why I'm so important. Now, I have major relationships with all the major banks here in the city, and I also have relationships with multiple lenders and private money. Private money is the key too. Right now, you have a lot of these capital ventureless companies are lending money to small businesses on the strength of commercial real estate. Commercial real estate right now is so easy to get done, it's ridiculous. It's all based off of the strength of the collateral that you have. So if you're buying a building or already have a building in place, and you have equity in that building, and if that building is producing income, you can get some money off of that building, not because of your credit is great, because of that collateral is producing. So if the collateral is producing, it's not a risk, because if you default on the loan, the bank or a private investor can go back and get that collateral because it's producing. Commercial real estate right now is so easy to do. I got a deal in right now. It's a $400,000 deal. And the guy never, he got turned down by a traditional bank because of his credit score, and his business was not, his personal income was not that healthy. But he's bringing in $750,000 a year. So why did the bank say no? Well, they said no on two things. They said no because he didn't have three things. He didn't have a relationship, his credit score wasn't that great, and the industry that he's in. He has an awning company where he builds awnings for decks and porches and stuff. That's a risk industry because it's seasonal. When you're dealing with seasonal businesses, those are high-risk industries. The banks are going to stay away from them. So that's where companies like me come in there and we bridge that gap. Now, why would you need working capital? Because once again, a lot of times businesses think they don't need working capital because maybe they have the flow of income coming in. But if your expenses are high or too high, say you bring in $400,000 a year, but then your expenses are $350,000, well, you only got $50,000 worth of working capital. That's not going to cover your payroll. It's not going to cover any expansions, equipment, or whatever things that you might need. So that's why working capital is important to have access to be able to get what you need to do to expand, or whatever you might need to do, meet payroll, or sustain you because you're in a seasonal position where the income is not coming in fast enough, so you want to get working capital to be able to do that. So that's where I come in at as well, that I can bridge those gaps and get you the money that you need to sustain you until your season comes back in play. That makes sense to everybody? Anybody have any questions for me? Because I don't want to waste a lot of time up here telling everybody what I want to do.
What about the article that came out from the, was it the Wall Street Journal or was it the New York Times, about small business and all the money that they lend and only 1% went to black business a couple weeks ago? Did you read that article?
No, I did not read that article, but I'm not.
I mean, they gave out billions of dollars.
The field that I'm in, I lend to black and white, so it's not about the color of it, who's getting the money, who's not getting the money.
Well, that's what I thought, but then they broke it down. And when they pointed out that out of all of that money that was distributed, only 1% of
And
that money.
yes, and that may be, that's a fact too. You know, a lot of times when you're dealing with traditional lending, that could become a factor as well. So you're being profiled
I think
as
it's
well.
a factor.
You're being profiled is a
Yeah.
factor. So once again, that's where the relationship comes in. Back to the relationship with your personal banker. And I also tell you too, I met with a guy yesterday. He's an Indian guy. He pretty much owns half of Indianapolis. He has about 10 gas stations. And he came to me to help him get some more money because the couple of lenders that he has right now won't lend him any more money, even though he has perfect credit. He makes over $2 million a year in net income, but they won't lend him any more money because most banks are looking at it like this. Well, look, if I'm gonna give you this money right here, I want you to pay me back because the longer you owe me, the higher the risk is. So I don't want to extend any more money to you. I just want to make the money that I made off of you, get me paid, and let's keep it moving.
I just have an observation as far as owned or people that own hotels. I'm amazed in Indianapolis, because sometimes like with FFA groups like that, I have to go visit 130-something hotels to make sure things are okay. How many foreigners own the hotels and how they are able to get loans? Now surely they could have family support in other countries that have financial backing within their families.
That's key right there.
I
That's
mean,
key right there because most of us, we don't have the financial backing.
right, we haven't been, not free, but we haven't had the opportunities long enough
Exactly.
to be able to establish that. But it is amazing, and sometimes I look at the service and look at the status of the hotel and say, if this cat can run a hotel, surely I can. Now, I don't want to run a hotel, I'm just saying, if they take those risks, and they may have the support, again, in another
And that goes back to the
country.
profiling issue.
Exactly. They get it quicker than I would because I don't have my
Right.
family back in Pakistan
That's
to
the
be
reason
able to
why.
assist.
That's the reason why it's so important to have options, has multiple options. Don't always depend on traditional banks. Who says that traditional banks is the best way to go? Now the interest rates may be a little bit better. You see what I'm saying? But the terms are not going to be. Most banks, especially the churches, if you know this, most banks won't lend to churches no more than 5 to 10 years because of the risk, because of the industry, because you're depending on people to tithes and offer. That's the reason why a lot of churches fail because that's their bread and butter, that's what they depend on. So most, like I said, most banks won't lend no more than 5 to 10 years on a term. Then they want a balloon payment to refinance and then give it to somebody else.
Which is also historically sad because that's how black people used to get their money through loans at churches.
Right,
Back in the day.
exactly, exactly.
And after
Exactly.
our black Wall Streets were burned down in
Right,
Tulsa and everywhere
right,
else. But I mean, that's even sadder,
Right.
so.
You talked about business that's been in operation for a year or more, but what about startups?
Startup businesses are hard to do because, of course, you have not established any type of history as far as eliminating any risk, or also you might not have any income generated at that time. So that's the reason why I have put myself in a position to partner up with companies who do personal loans as well. So based off of your personal credit and your personal finances, I can get personal loans all the way up to $10,000 as well for startup businesses. A lot of those personal loans are not based off of credit, they're based off of the ability to pay back. That's another underwriting guideline that most people think that I gotta have perfect credit to get money. A lot of these subprime lenders really don't care about your credit rating, they're caring about the ability to pay back. Do you have the ability to pay me back?